Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1913, written by Caleb 1340. From sleep to the road, and the forest so deep, the Rake's ghoulish face haunts my every sleep. I always like to act like I'm a skeptic. In my life, I've had only one experience that truly left me pondering the supernatural. The Rake. I used to wake up with sleep paralysis from ages 12 to 17. It was somewhat regular. At age 16, I saw something for the first time. I woke up sharply, feeling a presence, which was new. I was a very anxious kid, so I immediately peered around my limited vision. Standing as upright as could be in the corner of my room was a thin, humanoid shape. I closed my eyes out of fear and must have laid there for hours before drifting off. Months later, I woke up again for the first time since then. I peered down past my feet, and the outline of the top of a head stared back at me. Again, I closed my eyes, fearing the end. This time, only morning brought me release. Not a month after the second time seeing something, I was driving home from work. Now freshly 16, and driving my first car, it felt amazing. I got off the highway and hit along 55-mile-per-hour country road that took me the rest of the way into my town. I flicked on my brights and turned the music up a bit. The road was known to be dangerous between deer and its sheer state of disrepair. I was speeding. Suddenly, I saw a figure on the side of the road. It was crouching over what appeared to be a bag. I took my foot off the gas and coasted down a bit in speed. As I drew nearer, I saw it wasn't a bag. It was a dead deer. Going 45-ish miles per hour now, I gave the figure one good look as I flew by. Its face was ghoulishly thin, with ghastly body proportions. 4 months later, I was an 8-hour drive north of that town working at a summer camp. I had been up there for a few weeks, and high school week finally rolled around. I got to camp instead of work for a week. Got in the zone, got placed in a competitive cabin, and got close to the other boys quickly. Thursday night was a camp out night. This camp was in Michigan, on the edge of the Huron National Forest. We would hike on an access road miles deep into the forest and find a spot to sleep under the stars. I remember passing the 18-mile marker, which is only 5 miles from the camp. The access road started beyond the other side of the camp. This left us about 5 miles due northwest of the camp. We played all sorts of games and soon it was dark. As the 8 of us sat around the campfire with our counselor, a boy, straight across the fire from me jerked to my attention, looking at something beyond me. I swung around with 2 other people and saw the tail end of something vanishing, down the path we'd forged through the brush to find our camping spot. He seemed shaken but didn't even mention it. Later, as we're winding down the fire, he suddenly yelps and points through me. As everyone does, I whip around. At the edge of the brush, not even 15 yards from me, was the ghastly humanoid features I'd seen in my room, and leering back was that same ghoulish face I'd seen on the other side of the road. It turned and did a disgusting crouched run back down the path, using its hands for only every 3rd or 4th stride. Everyone was completely shaken. I'm now almost 21, and I've never seen anything of the sort again. After that final encounter, I didn't experience sleep paralysis again. As the tale of the Rake goes, it appears in your sleep first, and every time you see it, it gathers close to you until it's almost touching. Then you start to see it in real life until it's ready to take you. Case notes from 1913. From sleep to the road, and the forest so deep, the Rake's ghoulish face haunts my every sleep. Even if one is skeptical, if you're experiencing something extraordinary, you're going to try to incorporate it into your psyche, into your experience. And what do you call this? Yeah, sleep paralysis does sometimes summon apparitions and demons, and they're not real. There's simply manifestations of your unconscious mind still slightly in the dream state. Sure, perfectly real and true. But if you start to see them in real life when you're not dreaming and you weren't asleep just before, are you going crazy? Well, I don't think so. And especially if other people are seeing them too. Count me out of that. That's just terrifying. That is true horror, and I really don't know what to make of it besides stay as far away as you can. Case file number 1914, written by Accomplished Edge 29. 80s theater gleaming bright, held a hallway out of sight. In the late 70s, early 80s, a new 3-screen movie theater opened in my small town. Like many things in that time period, it seemed so cool. It wasn't an old downtown theater with wooden seats and thick Victorian architecture, like I had been used to at the old theaters that surrounded my area in the little towns. This was a modern and sleek new 80s architecture building. It had white plastic seats with red and black cushions, and the back of the seats adjusted to 2 settings, which felt like sit up or lay back down. The halls were white with red and funky printed carpets. I was not very used to going to the bathroom alone. I was somewhere in the 9th or 12th range of age, I don't remember exactly. My parents were always there, so when during the movie I had to go, they told me to just go straight there and back and be quick. So I walked out of the dark theater, down the short hall that was angled uphill to the bright white bathroom. Opened the door and went past the sinks and straight to the urinals. I did my business and went back to the sinks to wash my hands. Moved back to the electric dryers, dried my hands, and noticed as I dried my hands that the door out of the bathroom actually had a long, narrow window that showed the hall outside. I didn't remember that when I came in. Finished drying, opening the door, took a couple steps out, and down the first set of steps. That's when I noticed there weren't lights on down the next run of steps. I stopped dead in my tracks. I knew I hadn't taken steps into the bathroom at this moment. I was kind of terrified. I turned around, bolted up the stairs and into the bathroom through the door, and across to the mirrors and the sinks again. I retraced my steps, not understanding, and as I turned around to look at the doors again, I realized there really was only one door in and out of this bathroom. So how did it take me down to the flight of stairs that had existed when I came in? As I looked in the mirror to the door that I had just come back through, I realized this time it did not have a window in it, like when I had originally come into the bathroom. So I went back through it again, and was on the slope of the carpeted hallway that led me back to the theater I had started at. Over the course of my teenage years and early 20s, I visited that same movie theater many times, never finding the door with the window panel in it again, and always wondering what had happened in that one moment in time, and where that staircase into the dark may have led me. Case notes file 1914. 80s theater, gleaming bright, held a hallway out of sight. It never ceases to amaze me how many parallel universes are right next to each other and how we can seemingly just cross over at will, or not at will, but randomly and easily and seamlessly without any explanation, and then we're just back where we're supposed to be. There's gaps in the membrane that separates us. It's like a wall where some areas are windows and doors and some are open. You don't see them, but you can cross over them without intent. Thankfully, it's pretty easy to come back. Outside of quantum immortality, you don't hear of stories where people are in a new universe and they stay there permanently. In the cases where they do, there was always a catalyst of death in the original one, or almost always. Maybe you do get caught in different parallel universes sometimes without dying. And even more terrifying, I think shadow people, not ghosts, but shadow people, are people trapped in the membrane between the universes, stuck in limbo, and no way to get over unless they find one of those doors or windows. Now time for the joke of the day. The first French fries weren't cooked in France. They were cooked in Greece. I want some French fries now with ketchup. Fantastic. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.